there's a lot of shows coming out, so we do our Week in Geeks covering all the nerd news. So we're just going to do a few cold opens, little pieces of news here and there. For this episode, gotta say, pretty exciting news here. Spider-Man 4 has a director, and that's Destin Daniel Cretton. And that name is attached to Shang-Chi, The Legend of Ten Rings. He was the director for Shang-Chi, and now he's on Spider-Man 4. I'm really excited to see a different take on Spider-Man. We've had John Watts on all three Spider-Man movies in the MCU, so fresh take. I love Shang-Chi. I like it a lot, I should say that. I don't love the mystical dragon stuff going on, but I don't think there's a place for that in Spider-Man, so I don't think I'm going to see that side of his directing in Spider-Man. So I'm actually really excited, and I'm really excited what kind of action set pieces he's going to put together, because Shang-Chi had some of the best MCU action I've seen. And it makes you wonder, is our boy Shang-Chi going to be in Spider-Man 4? We've heard that he's going to come into a project sooner than we think. He said that last year, and we have yet to see him. There's no news on Shang-Chi 2, which was a big surprise after Comic-Con. Why one of their more popular shows in the latest phase. People want some more Shang-Chi. We haven't heard anything about it. But this also means Shang-Chi 2 is going to take a lot longer to come out.
Yeah.
But other than that, what do you think of this director on Spider-Man 4?
I think I like it. I really did enjoy Shang-Chi. I enjoyed it a lot. The third act wasn't amazing because of it was just kind of a CGI fest. But I kind of enjoyed the dragon backstory there too. I wasn't, So I like that movie. I'm very curious to see. I totally agree. We need to switch up. We need a different step away from what we've been doing with Spider-Man. Let's get a new director in there. And I know the thing we've been pushing this whole time is I want it to be street level. I want it to be grounded. I've been hearing a lot of rumors that it's gonna take place in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, and the other rumor is everything happens in Battleworld between those two movies. So if that's the case, that's kind of a bummer, because that would be very multiversal, and I really just want that street. Let's get that Spider-Man street level story. But I'm definitely, I think it's a good sign. I don't think it's a bad hiring at all, and I'm very intrigued to see. I'm curious to see what the plot's going to be, to get those first hints of news. And one thing he did really good with Shang-Chi was the hand-to-hand combat scenes. And I've always kind of thought Spider-Man should have some dope hand-to-hand combat scenes of all time. Oh, that was one of the craziest. He's insanely fast, but he tones himself down. So, he never goes all out on people. He always holds back, but he's insanely fast, insane reflexes. There should be some pretty crazy potential for some fight scenes in a movie with him. And I love all of his movies, but there's not really other than him and Norman, which was more just rage and getting to see that in No Way Home. But there's not really a crazy hand-to-hand Spider-Man fight scene that comes to mind.
Yeah, they're usually more fantastical webs and octopus arms and buildings,
which I don't mind.
Yeah, that's pretty sick
exactly.
too.
Yeah, that's him. But it'd be cool to see one crazy ass hand-to-hand fight scene with him.
No, how sick would it be if Shang-Chi's in the movie, which is a long shot, but trains Spider-Man hand-to-hand combat in the movie? Trains him on martial arts? Dude, that would be so sick.
Wild. That would be pretty wild. That would be such a left turn that I would have never expected, though. If that's the plot, it's like a Karate Kid with Spider-Man and Shang-Chi. But
he's gonna mature a lot because no one knows who the hell he is, and he's on his own now. If Shang-Chi teaches him how to fight, dude, he could lead the Avengers after something like that. He's already had so much potential. His power levels are off the charts, and he teaches that dude how to fight.
That'd be wild.
But another cool news thing that came out today or maybe yesterday is that Sony and Marvel have a new deal where Spider-Man is in the hands of Kevin Feige, and so we're pretty much guaranteed to see a lot of Tom Holland in the future of the MCU. I don't think we ever thought that was really in question, but they did come to some kind of a deal, and with Kevin Feige in charge, Tom Holland's going to stick around the MCU for a while, so that's awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
There's also a ton of rumors.
Sorry, go for it.
I don't know if these are real, but there's rumors about Venom and Spider-Man teaming up in the movie, and the timing of it with everything. Venom 3 is coming out, and that's ending the Tom Hardy Venom story. That's the trilogy. That's the end. And then the timing of it with this Feige deal and Spider-Man. I don't know. And we got the Black we got the symbiote in the MCU. I don't see that happening, but I would really enjoy that. Hey, what do
For
you think of that?
sure. I think that would be sick, and I think Destin, the director who just took on Shang-Chi, he's done the kind of supernatural stuff with a lot of that stuff, and I think if he got to work with Venom and Spider-Man and combine those two things, and we got to see a team up, which we kind of saw a team up throughout the Shang-Chi stuff, even though nobody meaning me liked Aquafina's half of the team up, but I think he's got experience with that, and he's dealt with the supernatural. So I would freaking love if they pulled that off. That's like a childhood dream to see Venom and Spider-Man on the big screen, like swinging together like the Sega game I used to play growing up. Like, please make it happen.
I love the contrast of characters. Tom Holland's like this innocent dude, and then Venom's just this gnarly character. But I would much prefer Venom be a villain first before they come
Yeah,
to terms or whatever,
true.
because that's like one of the coolest feuds there is Venom versus Spider-Man. And Venom's just been like an anti-hero for years now. I really miss the villain Venom because he's scary and intimidating and strong.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the last time we talked about Venom, I even said like there's been a little bit too much like jokes and humor and goofiness with Venom. I'd like to see him in a more intimidating level, and then I immediately start saying how I want the buddy cop team up with Spider-Man too. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
it's
I
because
totally agree with what you're saying.
it's because the prospect of Venom and Spider-Man on the big screen together is so sick. Like I'll take it in
Yeah.
any form it comes.
However, right.
Hell yeah. Hello, welcome back to Why So Sidious a Nerd podcast, where we talk about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all the good stuff. Today we're talking about the premiere of The Penguin, spinoff from Matt Reeves The Batman. Blew me out of the water. Great show. But before we get into it, go ahead and follow us TikTok, X, Instagram, and YouTube at Why So Sidious Pod. Please go help us out on YouTube. We want a presence over there. This is live on YouTube now. You get a lot more than you do out of the other social media platforms over there, so check it out. We've been covering Rings of Power. We will be sandwiching episode 6 and 7 together next week to cover those. We got some comic reviews out. Our Weekend Geeks, like I said before, are going to be coming out soonish, but there's a lot to cover. So check it all out. Thanks for joining us today, and let's get into The Penguin. So Dave, what did you think about it?
Oh man, it was better than I expected. And I was looking forward to this series. Obviously, I love the Batman. Penguin was freaking awesome in the Batman. Colin Farrell was amazing in it. Like it was really standout aspect of that really good movie, which just rewatched and absolutely loved it again. I gave it an even higher rating. Man, they hit it out of the park with this first episode. I was just in the zone the entire show. I mean, it kicks off with a bang with what Penguin does. Some of the events we got in this first episode was like, holy crap, this feels like mid-season or like end of season type stuff happening right now. And it was awesome. I loved the touch they did with the quick connection to the Batman, and Colin Farrell, just great. I loved every moment he had on screen in the Batman, and I didn't realize how little he was in it when I went on the rewatch. And it was like, God, it just makes you want more of him. And man, they delivered it. They delivered it in such a great way.
Absolutely. Colin Farrell is killing it in this role. Unbelievable. Like how quick he switches from like nice, friendly, charismatic to just a ruthless gangster. Like back and forth, his facial expressions are like they make me laugh. Just the way he looks sometimes, his little snarky smiles, everything about it. The opening was so good, dude. It was like the next scene in the Batman. It was literally like some of the same shots out of the Batman, like that news scenario. They were saying the same stuff. It was the same news covering like the Batman saving lives on Gotham Square Garden. The same shot of the Penguin looking over from the top of his tower, like looking over the city.
Yeah.
So like perfect connective tissue. That just got me so hooked. And then like starting the series with that huge scene of him just, and we saw this scene in the trailers. I had no idea that we are going to see that scene in the first 10 minutes. Couldn't believe that. Yeah, this is full spoiler talk, by the way. So moving forward, I'll just say the name. That person he shot was Alberto Falcone,
Dude.
who replaces Carmine Falcone, his father, who we saw in the Batman. the kingpin of Gotham as far as the crime world goes. And I just loved that scene, dude. He was talking shit to the Penguin, going back to those facial expressions. You could see because the Penguin gives a great like little monologue about this gangster that he noticed as a kid that was helpful to everybody. Everyone loved him. He died. They threw a parade in his name. And Alberto just starts making fun of him about, oh, really? That's what you want? Huh? You think people are going to be parading with your name, all this stuff? And he just shoots him. Like, holy shit! It was right after he called him. He was like, what a little bitch, and then pulls a gun out, pop, 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 pop.
It
Oh
was
my
so
god!
satisfying because you're watching this kid talk and you're like, God, this kid is such a punk. Like, and then yeah, it was such a good monologue story, and he cuts him off, and you feel I felt bad for him when he
Me
started
too.
laughing. I was like, oh, bro, what the? And then he just doesn't shoot him once. He just doesn't even flinch. He just just unloads on this kid from point blank. Starts my favorite part. He starts laughing. He starts
Yeah.
laughing after he does it, and then it sets in what just happened. He goes,
Oh
"Oh
fuck!
shit!" Yeah, like, dude, oh, that was such a good scene. I'm so glad they went for it. Yeah, that was one of the first things. I was like, oh, we're jumping straight into this. Like, he just blasted Falcone's son in the first like 15 minutes of this episode. Like, yeah,
Right.
what a start.
And that totally set up the story because the whole story is after that is pretty much him trying to cover his tracks with that. People finding
Yeah.
out about that, him continuing to try to hide it. It was all done so brilliantly. Like every little story element they threw in there just kept me glued to the screen. And you're
Yeah.
right. You feel bad. His facial expression, dude, as soon as that dude starts making fun of him, like you could just see like this utter defeat in his face. And it's like,
Dude, yeah, I don't know if it's the writing or if it's Colin Farrell or both, but he's not a character you should be rooting for. He's a scumbag,
Yeah.
but I find myself rooting for him. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I hope this works out for this guy. Like, I don't
Big
know. I
time.
feel like there's like a sense of pity, but because you can kind of see he's a broken guy, and maybe he's not pure evil. He's just broken, and he had a jacked up childhood. We've seen his mom, the way his mom talks to him. And you're like, oh my god, yeah, this kid had a hell of an upbringing here. But yeah, I find myself rooting for this fat, jacked up guy, and it's just in one episode again. So I don't know if it's the writing, if it's Colin's performance, or both. But I'm already attached to this. Like,
same. I had to make that point too in the notes there. He's like, you shouldn't like this guy, but he's so charismatic and so likable, and like, he actually shows that he kind of cares about people, even though he's so ruthless. Like I said, he just switches back
Yeah.
and forth so quick, like he does with this boy, Victor Aguilar. And what's great about that is he goes out right after he kills Alberto, and he's trying to steal his car, just like Jason Todd was doing to Batman when Batman took him under his wing. How sick
I
is
didn't even
that?
think about that.
Very
Ah.
Easter eggy. So
That's
this,
cool.
this kid Victor Aguilar and a bunch of friends are trying to steal rims off Penguin's car. He, pulls his gun out. What the hell are you doing? Starts shooting them. Whatever. They all run away. Doesn't actually shoot them. He misses. Then he takes Victor, indoctrinates him, and it's so funny, dude. Because there's a lot of comedy in this show too. But when he's threatening this guy and he starts stuttering, he's just like, Jesus, just take a breath, okay? Just like you could see him kind of feel for the guy. And that was so funny. And then when they get in the car afterwards, the way the Penguin is staring at him for like two different shots, just staring at him in the funniest, creepiest way.
It's funny too once you realize that the whole time he intended to kill him, and so he says certain things where it's like, he knew, like, he was planning on killing him the whole time, which makes his decision later that much more impactful. That he goes back on it, and you can see he's attached to this kid. Like, and it was interesting. I did not expect a mentor-mentee type of situation to pop off in episode 1, and that would not be the kid that I would have expected it to happen with. But it worked. I like their kind of dynamic this episode. Did it work for you?
Oh, absolutely. I just thought it was so funny a lot of the times. Like, he really just took this kid in and uprooted his life. And he's like, all right, we're doing this now. We're doing this. We're going here. This is what we're doing. Like, all this stuff for this kid who was just, like, a couple hours ago, didn't know the guy. He was just trying to steal rims off the car.
Yeah. Dude, I have a couple questions for you real quick just about the Penguin in general. First off, did he have that, like, whatever that contraption is he's wearing on his foot, and he's obviously limping? His foot's jacked up. We see it in this episode. It's disgusting. Did he have that limp the entire time in the Batman movie? Because I don't remember him waddling like
I don't
that
remember
every
him
step.
either. I don't remember
Because
that
he's
either.
okay.
Well, like, cause like I remember in the Batman, the one point you saw him waddling like a penguin was when he was in cuffs. When
Yeah.
after he was getting a little bit of interrogated by Batman and Jim Gordon, and it's like they made a point to show him waddle like a penguin.
Yeah.
That was kind of an Easter egg. But then it was like, yeah, he wasn't limping the rest of that movie.
Yeah, he's full on waddling in this episode. I mean, he is penguin waddling into his
Yeah.
club, like from start to finish. It was noticeable, and I was like, did he get his leg broken in the movie or something? But then all of a sudden we see his foot, so it's obviously something from birth. So anyway, all to say, A, does he have a messed up foot in the comics? And B, is purple his color in certain runs? Because I feel like that feels familiar. He's got the plum Maserati. He's got the purple suit. Purple's obviously a theme for him in this. And it felt right, but I can't recall if that's a thing from the comics or not.
Purple's a theme in the comics. The foot
Okay.
thing seems like it's just in the show. I don't remember it anyway.
Okay. Word.
But I like how he's crippled in a way, and that stutter is almost what made him feel for the kid. Like I feel like that kid would have died if he didn't show some kind of not disability, but you know what I'm getting at, some kind of
Yeah.
whatever that is. So
Yeah.
it made him connect, made him feel for him, and I loved that. I loved that whole relationship. I mean, the story wise, the first 10 minutes, I'm so hooked. The Penguin kills that guy. That was the new Kingpin. So obviously a lot of ramifications with killing that guy specifically, but then you're also tied to this Victor character. Like you don't want him to die. He seems hella nice. Yeah, he was trying to steal his rims, but Gotham's a messed up place right now. People are desperate. And you're super scared for him. Like he's getting run around by some mob, just gangster, and you don't want him to die. So like, dude, they did such a good job at establishing a story that engages the audience right off the bat.
Straight up.
And so the whole goal with this kid is he's trying to help Penguin hide the body. They go hide the body in a trunk of a random car. And then the Penguin, dude, it was a pretty crazy moment. He was like, all right, kid, turn around, look at the sunset. I was like, damn, dude, like that was sad. And I really thought he was going to kill him there. I didn't think he would pull back because I thought he was going to be written as a villain that we're really not supposed to like. I didn't expect to like him this much, but
Right.
sure enough, he doesn't kill him, and that's fine, you know. And then he goes to like the drug operation, and we see him like flipping through these files, and we find these photos of some dude getting it on with some girl, and he's obviously going to use it as blackmail. And he writes a letter, "Let's be pals," but we didn't see where that goes at all.
So, which I actually loved this because one of the first things we see him do is he goes to the Iceberg Lounge, he breaks into Carmine Falcone's safe, and he gets, instead of money or weapons or whatever, the most important thing he takes is photos, blackmail, like evidence and blackmail against powerful people. And he immediately
Leverage.
pockets that. He gives up the jewelry to Alberto, even though he ends up killing him. So I'm sure he ended up taking the jewelry. But yeah, he gets the leverage. And the first thing he does when he walks into this, and he takes one of the pictures out, deliver this to councilman. I forgot the name he said, but he tells him a councilman to deliver this to. So he's immediately working on getting people in his pocket, like right off the bat. He's not wasting any time. So I think that'll definitely come up later. It didn't show it in this episode, but just the fact that he's already working, he dropped a councilman's name. I think he's about to start bribing politicians left and right, getting people in his pocket. And I loved that part of the episode. It felt like detailed. He's not like a criminal mastermind, but he's the smart mobster, it seems, or at least somewhat. He knows the game. So I like that.
And super ambitious.
Yeah.
And it totally reminds me of House of the Dragon when, God, I forgot his name, but he's talking to the king that's super injured, fell off the dragon. He's in bed. He's like, dude, you're going to be crippled forever. So now you just have to worry about what's up here. Like you have to outthink people and not worry about what they think. Like that just, it's like he just said that to the Penguin, and now the Penguin is acting on that advice. Because, yeah, the ambition is off the charts. Just this little crippled dude that does all the right things, super smart. God, I just can't get over how good this was.
Dude, It's hitting so well. And yeah, we saw that, like you said, he's got to use his mind, because we saw that man swinging that sledgehammer to break into that safe, and he's not physically gifted, that's for damn sure. So he's got to use that mind of his, because that was a difficult thing to watch him
That was
swinging
sad.
that sledgehammer.
A poor guy.
It's like, damn, hire somebody, bro.
All right, so then he gets called by the family. Are these Falcones?
Yeah, I think that's the whole Falcone family there, or Falcone.
So does that mean that Carmine like had other people to answer to? What do you think?
That's what it felt like. It felt like that this was like, I don't know, because they kept saying the family, so maybe it's a higher up family that Carmine was answering to. Maybe they're not Falcones. Maybe Sophia is the only Falcone left, and she was just a part of this mob family. But I don't believe it said their names.
No,
Of
never
those
did.
people. A couple of the main guy who kind of calls the shot. He's in a lot of small roles in other films, and he's usually kind of a punk, like not a punk, like he's usually a wimp. He's usually not an intimidating character. So the fact that he's the one being at the head of this crime family, I wavered at that one a little bit. I was like, I don't buy him as bossing around Carmine. But yeah, they do seem to be the bosses running stuff. So I don't know. I'm gonna look that up and see if they're listed in this cast stuff.
For sure. It was so funny when he parks at the family's house. He's like, all right, if I don't come back, and they just pause. The kid's looking super nervous about that. He's like, I'm messing with you, kid. Just sit tight. Look for your sense of humor. It's in here somewhere. Goes in the house.
You'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
For your sense of humor. It was hella funny.
So basically, the family's saying they're going to shut down operations in Gotham. And then the Penguin says, no, wait, I'll figure something out. We'll get you your money. And then he tells them the plan that Alberto told him, like, we're going to get into some new drug, something very innovative that's not the drops. And he brings that plan up. That was kind of stupid. Probably did it, probably a little nervous reaction there. But then the character Sophia Falcone comes up with this meeting in the family and is acting really friendly. That's fine. Forces him to pretty much says, we're going to lunch. We have to talk about it, because she blames him, like, doesn't blame him, but she questions him immediately. Like, do you know anything about what happened to my brother, Alberto? Because that's the guy that Penguin shot. That's her brother. And Sophia is a character in the comics. She was in The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. Spoiler alert, Sophia was like a part of it was a murder mystery, right? And Sophia was responsible for these murders. And Dark Victory's sick, gives you like some Two-Face origin, some Dick Grayson origin, and it's a really good murder mystery. But she's really big in the comics, like tall and big. So not super comic accurate, but I don't know how that would work on the show if they just had this Shrek lady come out and talking the way she is, because she's pretty solid. She's kind of scary. She looks like she's off the rails a little bit. And we found out she just got out of Arkham. Like when they're sitting there in the restaurant talking, when they leave, and she's like, a lot of people underestimate you, but I know that you're capable of much more, whatever. And her smile abruptly turns to this glare when the score hits. That was a scary scene. It was beautifully crafted scene. Did you notice that? Because that was kind of scary. Straight up smile, boom,
Yeah.
glare, and the score hits. So it was just like, ooh, it kind of gives you a little chills, and it's pretty much saying like, yeah, she pretty much thinks you did kill her brother.
Dude, they've done a great job at her character already. I wasn't really interested in it as of the trailer.
Me
but
neither.
She is, yeah, she's got those crazy eyes. Like, she's performing it great, because I totally buy she just got out of Arkham. But I also buy that she's intimidating enough to get stuff done and to be a problem for the Penguin here. So I think the casting is great. I didn't know her background in the comics. That's pretty interesting, though. But I'm excited to see where it goes. It's a solid little nemesis to have for the Penguin. It's also, so I'm looking up the cast of those people that were there at the Falcones, and does the name Dr. Oh, son of a gun, where'd it go? Dr. Julian Rush mean anything to you?
No.
Okay, well, I believe that was No, that's got to be somebody else. I don't know. I can't find this. Never mind. But anyway, Theo Rossi. Do you remember? This is so freaking random, but it's gonna connect. Everybody, bear with me. Do you remember? Was it Juice from Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the actor who plays him is Theo Rossi. Apparently, he's going to be in this as Sophia's lover at some point, or a boyfriend or something. He's supposed to be in this series though.
Weird.
Which is interesting. But for the life of me, I cannot figure out who those people are at that house.
Yeah, maybe they're meant to be mysterious. Clearly, they purposefully didn't
guess
give
so.
a name.
That's true. Yeah, maybe this is okay. Fair enough. Maybe I'll give up this hunt then. But
Well, as far as the comics, I don't know anybody who would be bigger than Carmine Falcone or Salvatore Maroni.
right, and we got that was sick. I guess we'll get to that, but that was kind of dope.
That was sick. And then it was really sick because of the ring. And before the Penguin shot Alberto Falcone, God, macaroni.
I know I did that to you. Sorry, I was calling him Falcone earlier.
He talks about this ring that he has, that is Salvatore Maroni's ring. And this is the first like scene or two, first 10 minutes. And clearly puts a lot of weight behind this ring. The fact that he has it is almost like a trophy to succeeding over the Maroni family. Brilliant little seed to plant for later when the Penguin, now that he knows things are possibly falling out with the Falcones, he goes to Salvatore Maroni. He's in prison right now because, as we've seen in the Batman, one of the big things was this huge drug bust that got Salvatore Maroni put in prison. And that's like the big competitor to the Falcone family. So the Penguin goes to visit him in prison and offers his services, basically. And that, like, it looked from where I was looking, it looked kind of weak and kind of just like two-faced. And I mean, obviously two-faced. This dude is doing his own thing, but it's like, do you really believe? You think this guy's gonna believe you're just like turning coat and gonna come be super loyal to you? And like, that's obviously what Salvatore Maroni says. He's like, dude, I don't believe for a second that you're gonna be loyal to me. But the cool thing was that ring, which was Salvatore Maroni's ring. Once Penguin leaves, he actually stops and turns around and says, "Oh, by the way, here's this ring back," and that impacted Salvatore Maroni. So pretty much telling us as the audience he's probably coming back in the future, at least gaining a little bit of trust with the Penguin, because the fact that he has that ring is crazy. It shows some kind of competence in one way or another. It's a symbol of loyalty in some way. So that scene was cool, and that's going to go somewhere big.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Sorry, real quick. Do you know Vitti? Johnny Vitti?
Yeah, he's a Falcone, I thought, isn't he?
Okay. Well, then he's the main guy. He's the oldest guy that told him to shut it down at the end. That's Johnny Vitti.
Johnny Vitti. I almost am picturing him as Falcone's son in Long Halloween.
Okay. And then the other guy who stands next to him is more clean cut is Milo Grappa. Grappa, I know that name. Grappa. Why do I know Grappa? He must have been in another Batman project, but that's Milo Grappa. Milo.
I was wrong about him being the son of Falcone. That's a different character, but he was in the Long Halloween.
Okay. Those names ring a bell to me, but they're also, I guess, pretty generic mob names. Johnny Vitti and Milo Grappa.
Good old-fashioned Italian names.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know. They're probably just a part of the same crime organization as Falcone.
Yeah, because in the comics, he was actually someone who got murdered. He doesn't scream power to me at all. So that's interesting. Okay. But they could play with whatever they want in the show here.
Salvatore Maroni screamed power to me. I'll just say that.
100%. But he's probably wielding that power from prison really well. He's probably pretty comfy in there.
Yeah.
But dude, tell me this didn't feel like a straight up solid crime show. Like, not even a comic book show. It just felt like a really, really good crime show. And honestly, like, more fast-paced story-wise than a lot of crime projects in my eyes. A lot of times they're kind of slow. They're really good. Goodfellas, Godfather, a lot of great stuff. But this, like, every scene seemed to push the story forward so well and keep you so engaged.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a great job. We only got 8 episodes. I don't know that we're getting a season 2 because this is an Elseworlds deal in this new DC universe. But yeah, like The Sopranos, it's pretty famous for starting off very slow. It's a slow burn to get into the series. Sure. But so as far as what you said about a good mob project, I was kind of looking at a couple of reviews after I watched it, and I read a review from Den of Geek, which is a pretty popular website and nerd forum there. And they wrote that this show is trying to be The Sopranos, but Colin Farrell's Penguin just can't get out of the way of the plot, and he doesn't know where he fits into the story. And I completely disagree, and I think
100%.
whoever wrote that needs to be demoted because I think it fits in great. It's not it hits those mob notes like you said. It feels like a great mob series, but Penguin adds in that Gotham, that Batman aspect to it, that comic book. Like it's not your cookie cutter everyday run of the mill mob story that we've seen 1,000 times. Penguin is that X factor that changes it and makes it more unique, gives it more potential for we don't know what's going to come next. We don't know what's going to happen. Batman is in this universe. So I totally disagree. I think it actually elevates the show having this Penguin character in the middle of this mob story. So I agree with you totally. I think this is already a solid mob series.
Dude, without the Penguin, nothing happened. What do you mean? He pushed
silly.
like his story pushed the story forward so well.
Silly. Yeah.
And he's such a good character too. He's like you like him, but he's a dirtbag, but he's resourceful and charismatic and like
Dude.
reckless, but smart.
You've seen him save a life. You've seen him have compassion. He's written very well. He's performed perfectly by Colin Farrell. Like I don't know. After the one episode I saw, I have nothing but good things to say about the character. I don't know how you can say he's in the way of the plot. Like for a big news article like that for nerd stuff. Like what?
He is the plot. This is titled Penguin, and he
It's
carried
called
the
the
show
Penguin.
pretty well. All right.
Yeah, I was pissed, man. I couldn't believe they didn't have more Commissioner Gordon in there. Like what the hell?
Yeah, so we know the Batman's not going to show up. That news was dropped. He's not going to be anywhere to be found. But Jim Gordon, he could very well be in the show.
For sure.
I wonder if we'll see that. So let's jump to the ending here. So basically, I love the little chase scene here. He's driving to do whatever, but when he parks, he sees Sophia Falcone and her little henchmen. She looks at him. He runs. Or drives away, a little chase scene, not really. But then he parks and jumps in his trunk. I thought that was so funny.
Smart.
So basically, the henchmen find the Penguin's car, and like they made a point to say like this is purple and noticeable. And when he was meeting with the family, he's like, it's not purple. It's actually considered plum.
It's plum.
So all they find is his car stopped in the middle of the road with the doors open. They go in the car, obviously see he's not in there, and they go about their search, but he was in the trunk, so he just opens the trunk. I thought he was going to get away. I thought for sure he was going to get away. But no, they capture him. They bring him back, and then he starts getting tortured. Obviously because Sophia thinks he killed the brother, which she's right about. But the genius plan, and him and Victor Aguilar, the dude he took under his wing, they talked about their little plan very vaguely before this. And sure enough, as Penguin's getting tortured, big crash outside. They all go search, and they find this car that is not the Penguin's car, and she opens the trunk to find her brother with the finger cut off, which pretty much takes the blame off of Penguin. So I would have preferred a little scene for Sophia to go in there and be like, clearly it's not you, blah, blah, blah. But whatever,
Yeah.
it was pretty abrupt. The scene just cuts to the Penguin and Victor enjoying a Slurpee, the flavor of which that they discussed earlier in the episode, whatever. But yeah, one little scene, for her to go say, oh, well, apparently it's not you. Sorry for torturing you. And you can go on your way now.
Yeah, I had a couple questions from that scene. I thought by the end of it, the pan out of the city and we got Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 and stuff, I thought that was a solid wrap up to the first episode. Like that ended with that music playing. I was like, I'm excited for this. What a dope entry. But the scene leading right up to that, I did have a couple issues with. One being that they totally just skipped over to him, just like, hey, the last we saw, he couldn't get a hold of him and called him multiple times. And then we see him, hiding in a trunk. All this happens. He gets knocked out. So how did he plan this entire thing with this kid who's stuttering, is obviously very green when it comes to the mob game? And he was able to take the body out of the bag, cut his finger off, carve that in the trunk, and put the brick cinder block perfectly on the gas pedal and nail the front step of the house. And it's just this kid who has no experience in this. He couldn't even steal the hubcaps off of the Penguin's car successfully with 5 other dudes, and he was able to accomplish a crazy, that was crazy. The fact you could aim the car like that it was clutch, but like that. So yeah, I was like, okay, that one was a little stretch. And also I didn't hate the scene though, I do want to say, but there were things where I was like, eh.
It was too convenient.
Yeah, too convenient, too easy. And the torture scene. He got punched like 6 or 7 times pretty hard. Not a mark, no blood or anything on his face. So it was kind of weird to do the Marvel thing, considering this episode was brutal up until that point. Like, it's not like they're afraid to show blood and gore. Like, we saw they showed enough blood in this, and guy's finger was cut off. We see the bone and everything. Like, we saw some visceral stuff. So that was odd. And then what were they doing with the torture? It seemed like it was like razor wire, and they were halfway cut up his shoulder, and if he pulled again, it would cut off his entire arm. Like, it looked like it was halfway up his shoulder, but then he stopped even like flinching after a minute and wasn't even like grimacing in pain, and now he's just walking. I feel like he should have nerve damage. He shouldn't be able to lift that arm anymore by how far it looked like it caught up. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what was happening to his arm, I guess.
Since he's a heavier fellow, I think, a lot of skin pull. I don't think they were cutting into muscle at that point.
Okay.
Wasn't enough blood, or, if they really got that far, he'd be screaming his ass off.
Yeah, the second time I was like, wait, is that not rope? Is that like
that's wire.
Wire cutting into his, and then I was like, oh, they're gonna cut his arm off. Does he have one arm in one of the comic? Like, I for sure thought he was losing his arm there. So okay, maybe it was just slightly getting in there, cutting through the fat. Yeah,
I'm okay with. They could have planned that ahead, and it's not too tough of a task for him to accomplish. Cut a finger off, carve the note. But my issue was there's like no security in there. Like, you were able to get that car up close enough and run it into the house with, pretty good. Well, you could have hit any part of the house. He doesn't have to have good aim there, but it's just the security. So, and he got away. He got away. He's on foot at that point. If he drove that car there, he doesn't have an accomplice, I'm sure. So,
well, and how long was Penguin knocked out for, too? Because he just got knocked out in the street, and then when he woke up, he was still getting punched, and that kid found the body and did that entire plan in the meantime. I don't know. I guess that was the part where I was like, how did that all happen in that? But again, the security is probably the toughest part to buy.
Yeah, the whole scene just screamed like a little too convenient to me.
Yeah, just a little rushed.
Rushed.
Just a little bit.
It still worked, and for, the outcome of it story-wise, I like it a lot. They finally, because it actually goes back to that little show he was watching at his mom's house when this lady's singing about blame Mame. And, Victor's like, who's Mame? And Penguin's like, no, that's right. He's like, that's the point. It doesn't matter who Mame is. You just blame her. So then you could see it clicking in his head, like, oh, I just got to blame this on someone else. And so that's when they probably developed the plan.
That's a good call, because I remember that scene, and obviously it was like, okay, a light bulb just turned on his head while he was hearing the blame Mame deal. But I totally forgot about that scene. I will say I did like the end, even though it was whatever. They're talking about mixing flavors of the slush puppies at that place. I like that we see him telling the kid his plan to take over Gotham, and how it's kind of a half-baked plan here. He just found out about this drug shipment, and his entire plan to take over Gotham relies on I hope the shipment's something good that I can work with, and then you have to set up this whole supply chain, yada yada yada. But I like that, because it, like I said earlier, it doesn't portray him as this criminal mastermind, this absolute genius who outsmarts every single person. And it's the Penguin. He's a crime lord mobster. He's smart. The Batman usually bests him still, but I don't think he needs to be the kingpin per se and have all of these insane, like, level on level on level on level plans to take over the city. I kind of like seeing just this guy who's like, you know what, screw this. It's my turn. I'm going to take over. And again, it's not the craziest plan, but he's just like determined, and he's the Penguin. So I thought it's perfect for me the way they wrote this character for the way I've always seen the Penguin.
Same. It's his ambition and his, yeah, he's thinking on his feet throughout the whole thing, and that's what makes it kind of exciting.
Yeah.
It's not like a John Wick who you know is going to go in there and kill everybody and be just fine. It's like, no, this dude's like broken. He's short. He's got ego problems. He's not confident in himself, physically at least. Like, I don't know. He's such a watchable character, and the show is just done so well. Yeah, I'm really excited. I was expecting a good show. I think it exceeded my expectations. What about you?
Same. Yeah. Again, yeah, I was looking forward to the show. I did make the comment before the show started, like, well, there might be an episode or two there that's pretty slow that we might not want to cover, every single episode there. Because, again, like we said, Crime Boss series, a lot of the times there's some slow stuff and it takes some build up. After watching that, man, I mean, that was incredible. It was better than I expected. I'm really looking forward to each episode here.
Me too. We're spoiled with these like 2-3 episode premieres, and I'm just like, I really wanted to watch the next episode immediately. So
Same.
But that about wraps it up. One thing it does get me really excited for is Lanterns, because HBO just puts out such quality shows all the time. Like HBO knows how to make shows, like, and you could see the kind of talent they're trying to cast for Lanterns. And dude, I mean, it's one of my favorite kind of stories in the comics is all the Green Lantern stuff, and the HBO is, and James Gunn, dude, I'm telling you, Lanterns might be dope. Another thing is I didn't expect this to be like fully rated R. The first time, I mean, you figured it'd be dark, but they're going full rated R. I mean, they threw F-bombs throughout. The first F-bomb I heard, I was like, oh, are they going full send with this?
Dude, right off
they
the
just
bat.
keep hitting them.
Well, it's something else rated R, which I didn't see, and I'm very glad. But when I was looking through the articles, one of the headlines for this episode was Colin Farrell wears prosthetic penis for torture scene. So he was fully naked in that shot, in which we saw the side angle of a fat, naked, hairy penguin, which is like, that was enough. But yeah, apparently they were ready to show it all, which is like,
damn,
probably a little unnecessary. But
I could do with that. I'm still kind of traumatized from the hound's penis.
Right. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, so they're definitely ready to go full rated R. And you're totally right. Lanterns, like, it's the fact that they said it'll be in the True Detective style, which is also rated R. It's making me think, yeah, I know this is Elseworlds too. Maybe that. But no, James Gunn said there were going to be multiple projects that'd be rated R in the main universe. So I think, man, yeah, this does nothing but get my hopes up for Lanterns too.
And speaking of prosthetics, like, we knew his face looked amazing. He's like unrecognizable as Colin Farrell, but his face, but his body, like when we did see like most of his naked body, not the penis, thank God, the whole body looked fantastic.
Yeah, and they didn't need to do that. They did not need to show his entire, but because I would have thought, well, that's a risk because his whole body's prosthetic at this point. So that's risky. Why would you need to show that? And it looked real again because I was grossed out by it, obviously. So it looks pretty real.
Like, it looked good. Did you see that Colin Farrell mentioned how much he hated sitting down for hours to do prosthetics before shooting the show?
I can't imagine. I get restless legs, bro. I would not be able to sit still. Like, you can only listen to a podcast and sit in one position for so long. I know you can listen and watch stuff, but like, oh my gosh, you could take a Xanax or something just so you can sit still for that long. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, some actors apparently it's like meditative for them, but he like had a specific comment when they asked about season 2, and he was like, I don't want to. Like, that was hell sitting there for hours. Like, this isn't a movie, dude. This is hours. I mean, 8 episodes.
A lot of hours.
I think it's gonna be 8 episodes, right? Do we know?
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, that's
8 hours.
Freaking 4 movies right there, and that's all on him, and more screen time per hour. This is the Penguin show, so that's just a lot of days, a lot of hours on prosthetics. So yeah, it made people, like, a lot of headlines were like, no season 2 for the Penguin. Colin Farrell didn't want to do it.
I don't blame him. Yeah, again, what we just saw in that episode was probably 3 times as much as we saw in the Batman of him being on screen. More. He was only on screen in the Batman for like 5 scenes or something. Like, it wasn't a lot. Yeah, I didn't consider that fact, so I don't blame him for that. Speaking of the Batman, real quick though, I don't know if you've been hearing the rumors swirling around the next one that's coming up, which I'm curious. Also, Penguin's involvement in it, how that's going to work
Me
out. So
too.
that's interesting to see how this season ends. That adds more excitement to the finale. But have you been hearing the rumors that they're pretty confident that the setting will take place in winter during the Batman 2? So we're gonna get snowy Gotham, which leads into our Mr. Freeze kind of theories
Yeah.
and hopes we've been talking about and stuff. So I love the snowy Gotham feel. We got that with the last Penguin. It all ties in. And Batman Returns, Danny DeVito's Penguin. It was a snowy Gotham, and we're gonna get. I think this will be the. No, it was snowy in Dark Knight Rises when they took over the city.
Oh, was it? Oh yeah, it was icy and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, with the
They had the
exiles.
ice lake. Yeah, exactly. But I love that. I know it's ridiculous to get excited about the season in which the movie is going to be taking place, but I think that's dope. So I'm hoping that's true.
Well, like we might have got it in the Dark Knight, but you didn't see it. And this sounds really weird too. But you didn't see it on the Batman. I think the look of a Batman in the snow with the ice like covering him, because like they did really good with the. Like, he was muddy as shit by the end of the Batman.
Which
You
you
know-
never see that, right?
Yeah, you never
we
see
never
that.
really saw dirty Batman. I kind of like that. Yeah,
I like that too. So you
Batman.
imagine him in the snow, and Victor Freeze would
Yeah.
make such a good villain for Reeves' universe, and a villain that you could feel for, like he just wants to save his wife, and you know he'll kill people if they stand in his way. That'd make a really good villain for the Reeves universe, and the snow seems to point
Bring
towards
Mark
that.
Strong in. Bring Mark Strong in. He was supposed to be
Oh,
Carmine
yeah.
Falcone. It got taken over by John Turturro. Let him take over the Freeze, man. Let him be Mr. Freeze. He's got the tall, bald head with the glasses. Like, he would look exactly like Batman animated series Freeze. Like, whew. Make it
Yes, or dude, the Breaking Bad. Bring Walt into.
happen. Yep. Cranston.
Dude, Cranston is Mr. Freeze. He'd be scary.
He'd be cold.
Goatee. He's got that voice.
Yep. He already
So
knows how to wear
excited.
glasses.
Dude, and you're right. The show, I'm really excited to see where the Penguin is after the show leading into the Batman 2. It makes me hope he's a bigger character in the Batman 2 than he was in the Batman 1. Like, hopefully he is the kingpin of Gotham. And, like, the way you feel for the character and sympathize with him in a way, I would love to see him become the kingpin. You know, just take it
Yeah.
all over and get into that seat where he is satisfied with what he's accomplished. That sounds like a really cool story.
It'd be weird to see, like, Batman beating the hell out of him and feel like, oh, leave him alone, man.
Yeah.
Like, get off my guy.
Right? They'll have to have him do something pretty gnarly and then make us want to see him get his ass whooped. You know, we'll see how that goes.
Dude, real quick, sorry, I know I've said that like 3 times probably, but did you know they changed the Penguin's name for this show?
Is it not Oswald Cobblepot?
It's not Oswald Cobblepot. It's Oz Cobb. So Oz isn't a nickname. It's literally his full name. It's OZ.
Weird.
And his last name is COBB. And it says the Penguin director on changing his name to Oz Cobb. We all felt Cobblepot wasn't a real person's name. It was kind of a silly name back in the day, and that was okay for comic books and kids. I feel like there's plenty of silly names out in the world, more silly than Cobblepot.
Yeah.
We knew people from high school. I can think of 3 different people I went to high school with who had sillier sounding names than Cobblepot.
Yeah.
I guess I won't say them because they're kind of talking trash on kids, but I've heard plenty of sillier names. But I mean, I don't care. But I didn't notice that until I was going through the cast tonight to try to find the Falcone members and saw Oz Cobb.
That's really interesting.
That's his official changed name. Yeah.
Speaking of goofy names, as in the Navy, you know, especially starting out, you know, we're seamen, right? And you say Seaman Dar. And there was a dude in our boot camp. His last name was Guzzler.
Shut the hell up.
Seaman Guzzler. Dude,
Shut the hell up,
That
dude.
is gnarly.
Shut.
Whoops. that's right.
That's not cool. You
That's
gotta,
rough.
you gotta call him like, well, even
Guz.
private. You can't call him private Guzzler. You're just screwed. If your last name's Guzzler, you gotta cut off the LER and go by Guz.
Yeah, you better hope to get like an air rate or fire rate. So you're Airman Guzzler. It sounds a lot better.
Even that just sounds like you're sucking off a bunch of airmen. Bro, that's rough. I feel bad for that. That you can't
Yeah.
go into the military with the last name Guzzler. That's wild.
I know you're probably not listening, but I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's nothing against you, bro. We feel for you.
All right, well, that wraps it up. Thanks for tuning in to our coverage of The Penguin. We'll continue to cover it. Next will be Rings of Power, sandwiching episodes 6 and 7 as Sauron getting attacked by orcs, but he's probably going to turn that around and attack the shit out of them in some crazy way. We're really liking Rings of Power Season 2. We like Season 1 also, so whoever didn't like it, you're wrong. Season 2 is even better, apparently, with everyone else's opinions, so that's awesome. But check that out. We'll be there to cover it. Why So Sidious Pod on our socials. That's for all of them: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. And thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time.